Hello guys, welcome to Salesforce Cody. Myself Ankit Gangwani. In this video, I'm going to show how to launch screen flows dynamically. In the previous video, we have seen how to launch Lightning Web Component dynamically. If you want to watch that video, you can follow this link. But I'm going to still recap what we have done in our last video. So we have an interesting use case where we have a case object. In the case object, we have a picklist field request type. In the picklist field, we have a couple of options from 1 to 8. Each option has a different Lightning Web Component, and my requirement was that whenever a user select business billing issue, he want to see the billing issue Lightning Web Component. So that we have achieved with the help of Instantiate component dynamically. You can learn that in the previous video. In this video, I am going to continue using that code and amending my code to handle flow as well. So let's say I have a couple of options. Few options have a Lightning Web Component, few options have flows. So whenever I select any option, so this is the component where currently I have 8 options. The 9th options we are going to add here in this video. So all these options are currently Lightning Web Components. So if you select, let's say technical support, you click launch and you see your technical support Lightning Web Component. So the purpose of today's video is to amend this Lightning Web Component and to handle flows as well. So for example, if I have further options which is not Lightning Web Components but which is a flow, so then when I select that flow and click launch, so I can see my flow. Now to achieve this, we have created a simple Lightning Web Component with a combo box and a button. These values are coming from the case object. We have a request type field, so these all values are coming from that field. We also created a custom metadata. Let me show you. So this is the metadata I have created already. In this metadata, I am holding the request type and their corresponding API name. This is the API name of Lightning Web Component. And then we have written a code. So maybe I'll show you what we have written. So we have a request type launcher, which has a combo box and a button. So this combo box is a request type combo box and this is the launch button. So when we hit the launch, it will call a new model, which you can learn in the previous video. And in that model, I am dynamically launching my Lightning Web Components. Now, in this video, we are going to add one more use case in our metadata to launch the screen flows dynamically. So for that, we are going to follow a couple of steps. First, we are going to create a screen flow for each request type. Because I have only one request type, so I'm going to create a single screen flow. Then we are going to create a new field on the custom metadata. This field will tell whether the request type is either flow or LWC. Then we are going to add our entry to the custom metadata. That means we are going to add this entry to the custom metadata. Then we are going to add a new picklist value in the request type picklist field on the case object. Then we are going to update our existing LWC, which is going to handle both flows and LWCs. Right now, that LWC is only handles launching LWCs dynamically. So now at the end of this video, the LWC will going to launch both either flow or LWCs based on the data available in the custom metadata. So let's start one by one. So let's start creating a screen flow. So for example, I have this case record. I need a screen flow which will show me all the cases that belongs to this account except this case. So for example, if I go to this account and if I look into the cases, there are 3 cases. So I want a screen flow which is going to show me all the other cases which belongs to the express, logistic and transport. So for that, I am going to set up and flows. I will send new flow, scratch and screen flow. Now I first need a record ID of case. So I will create a variable record ID text and which is available for input. So this variable we are going to pass from our LWC and done. So once we get the case record ID, we need to find the account record ID so that we can query the number of cases available on that account. So for that I'll use a get records, get case details on case object, whether the ID is the record ID which we are receiving, and I only need the first record, and that's it. Once we get the case details, that means we have now our case and account details, account which belongs to that case, then we need to find all the other cases. So get other cases, which is again on the case object, and this time the account ID should be the get case detail account ID. So this will gives us the number of cases. For example, if I go to this account, it has 3 cases, so this flow will give me 3 cases, but I want to exclude the current case. So for that I will say where ID does not equal the current case ID, and I need all the records, and done. So now we have all the other cases list prepared. I am going to display that into a screen. So for that I will choose a screen where I am going to choose a data table. So I will say name it as other cases, use label as the table title, yes, and then the source collection is the list where we are querying all the other cases. Let's configure rows. This is going to be a view only, we are not allowing user to select. Let's display some columns. I will say case number, then subject, 2 are fine, let's choose one more, let's say reason. So 3 columns are good enough, and we can name it as screen cases, and done. So I'll save it. Let's say screen flow other cases, and just remove the underscores and save, and I'm going to activate. So let's debug. So we have this, we are going to case and this, copy the record ID, and now I'm going to debug. So I need to paste the record ID here, and this is going to display me 2 other cases. There are total 3 cases on the account, one which is getting excluded, and other 2 are belongs to that account. So that means this is working fine. Finish, and I'll close this. So the screen flow is ready, activated, and working fine. So that means we have completed our first step. Now we are going to add a new field on the custom metadata. So let's jump to the custom metadata and add a new field which says, let's say picklist, and this I will name as component type. This will gonna tell me whether the request type is a flow or a LWC. Display alphabetically, and it is going to be a require field. Next, save. So if I go to manage, so that means we have created our new field. So because these existing 8 records are LWCs, so let me go and update the type to LWC. Cool. Let me also add this column to the table. So component type, save. So now all these existing records are LWC. The third step is to add the entry to the custom metadata. That means the flow which we have recently created, screen flow, we need to add that entry to this metadata. So for that I am going to copy the API name of the flow, and I'm going to create a new entry. So this is flow. This request type API name is holding the API name of the either flow or LWC, and the label I will say show other cases. So this is going to be another request type. So hit save, and if I go to the metadata again and manage, so I can see I have one flow and then remaining LWCs, which is fine. So that means this step is also done. Now we are going to add a new picklist value in the existing picklist field on case object. So if I go to object manager, case in the case I will go to request type. So I already have existing request types, which you can see maybe in the metadata I can show here. So these are all the existing request types. If I refresh, go again, yeah. So if you look at again, so this is going to be our new request type, which is a flow. So let's add a new value here, show other cases, save. So our picklist value added successfully to the picklist field, and I can see show other cases. So now if I going to refresh this screen, I would see the new value here. So I can see show other cases, and if I launch, and it is not working because we need to modify our LWC to handle flow as well. Right now it is trying to launch as a LWC, but this is actually not a LWC. So I'm going to do my final step now, update the LWC to handle both flows and LWCs. So for that, I am first going to open dev console. So if you want to understand the code I have written in the previous video, you need to go and watch, because I'm not going to explain this again, just to save some time, because I have already done that. So we have a method which is get request type API name. So here I am passing the label. So this label is nothing, just a request type, and based on the request type it is giving me the API name. Now I am going to update this method to give me component type as well. This component type is a new field which we have created on our custom metadata to tell us whether the request type is a flow or LWC. And I just want to make sure that I use the correct API name. Yes. So, and then right now I'm just passing the request API name, but then I need to pass the type of the component. So instead of passing the string, I will pass the whole record. So I'll remove this. So that means this 0th record, because I'm getting it into a list and I only need one record, so I'll pass the whole record to the LWC. Now the next step is to go to request type launcher JavaScript, and here we are getting our result. So this is a method where I'm calling my apex and passing the request type to get the API name. So API name comes into result and assigning into API name result. So instead I need to do result dot and then the field name, this. So this is giving me the API name, and then I will also assign API type, whether it is a flow or LWC. So result dot component type, and I need to declare this variable as well. Done. So once it is done, then we need to pass this API type to our model. So this is the model where we are launching our LWCs dynamically. So now this is going to be the same model where we are launching our flows as well. So I'm already passing the API name. Now I need to pass the identity, whether this API is a flow or a LWC. Done. So then this is the method which is receiving this API name, and now it is going to receive the type as well. So I need to do some logic here. If API type equals to flow, let show flow. By default it is, let's say, false. That means by default it is LWC. If the API type is flow, then I will update show flow to true, right? And we are going to pass this in our model. Now I'm already passing LWC API name, but now the naming convention is not meaningful, because we will have a flow API name. So instead of creating two different variables, let me rename from LWC API name to just API name, so which holds the value of LWC API and flow API both. So I'm just going to rename this API name show flow, and then in the flow, if you remember, when we create the flow, we created a variable record ID because we need a case ID in order to find all the other cases. So I need to pass the input variables as well. So for that, I am going to just copy a simple code. This. So this input variable is designing a array, object array, which says record ID, and this is the case ID which I'm passing, and the case and the record ID I need to define here in order to get it from the record page. Done, and passing this here, and then I will define one more variable, let input variables equals to this. By default it is blank. If it is flow, then only we need to set. So we are going to call this method, and this method is going to design the input variables and then giving us to here. So once we have the input variables, we are passing the input variables as well. That's it. So we changed the name to API name. So we have this API show flow will tell true or false whether to launch the flow or to launch the LWC. Input variables will come blank when it is LWC, and it comes with record when it is flow. I think that's it. I don't think anything else we need to pass. Now let me save this and deploy this. Cool. Now it's time to update the modal. So this is the modal, which is dynamically launching the LWC with the help of c/name of the LWC and importing the LWC here, getting the constructor, and then in the HTML, this is the single line of code which is displaying the LWC. Now here, let's define the variables which we are passing. So first we are passing show flow, and then we also change the name from LWC API name to API name. So I'm changing the name here, replacing here, and we are also receiving input variables. I will just copy input variables. I don't think anything else is needed to change here. Let me double check. Yes, and now these 3 lines of code is launching the LWC, but I don't want to execute those lines when the show flow is true. So I need a check if this equals to false, then only I will launch the LWC, otherwise I will launch the flow. And how I will launch the flow, I will tell you. So in the HTML, in the model body, I will do a if element, if true, show flow. That means here I need to launch the flow. I will copy this, change it to false. So let me explain again. If show flow is true, I will launch the flow here. If show flow is false, that means I need to continue launching the LWCs. So to launch the flow, I will just copy the line of code. Yeah, so this is going to be, let me zoom a little bit. So this is going to be a single line of code to launch the flow, where we need to pass the API name, which we are receiving from the custom metadata. And this is the input variables, which we are receiving again from our different LWC, and what you need to do when the flow status changes. So we need to do something. So let's say, so whenever my flow is going to finish, I need to close the modal. So this is done. This is also done. Let's save this and let's save this. So I hope I have done all the required changes, which means the step is also completed. Now it's time to do some debugging and testing whether it is launching perfectly or not. So for that, I am going to here, and maybe I'll just clear all the cache and reload the screen. Yes. So let's say if I choose my flow, which is some other cases, and hit launch. Now this LWC launches the screen flow successfully. So I can see all the other cases which belongs to that account. And then we have a finish button as well. So if I'm going to finish, it is going to close the modal. If you notice, we have a cancel button. So this cancel button is a part of LWC. Now we can also hide this based on the condition. So whenever the launch button executes a flow, we don't need to show the cancel button, because the flow itself has some buttons to close and continue the next steps. So let's hide the cancel button. So for that, I am going to this modal. So this is the cancel button, and I don't want to show this cancel button whenever a flow launches. So whenever a show flow becomes false, then only I will launch. That means it is a LWC. So if I deploy this and if I refresh this with clearing all the cache, and if I choose the flow again, let's say some other cases, so this time there is no footer available. Interesting. So I can see my flow, and if I hit finish, let's say if I choose some other, let's say escalation request, because escalation request is actually a LWC. So if I hit launch, I can see the escalation request LWC, and I can also see the cancel because we have only hidden the cancel for the flow. So that's how you can dynamically launch LWCs and especially screen flows. And then you save a lot of space in your record page, so you don't need to drag all the components in the one go. Rather, you can ask the user to select what type of action they want to perform and what type of component they would like to see. So that's it for the today's video. I hope you like it, you got the understanding, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Till then, thanks for watching. Take care.